back. This is Warm-Up Plus right here on TV3. Just gone by, we did Get Sporty. But the man with me here is a man I call my senior colleague. I listened to him as a boy, and it's always a pleasure to meet him because he's always full of life and full of energy. Ibrahim Sannie Dara is our guest this morning right here on Warm-Up Plus, and he's joining us for the very first time of the beginning of the next edition of Warm-Up Plus.
Exactly,
right?
yeah, you delivered that perfectly.
My boss.
Honored.
You're welcome.
Boss, please.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my mother was doing the Get Sporty. Maybe,
Yeah.
Ibrahim, we may have to come home and take yours.
Can you do that?
Can you?
I've just asked Dasibre to figure out a way to break this belly.
He will break it. If anybody's up to the task, it's definitely Dasibre.
Is that so?
Yeah.
That's fine.
I'm impressed with what I've seen of Kawawa. I hope that
But God never even had
in
a big
3 months' time, when you see me, the next time I'm in town, 3 months' time, this belly, banish the belly.
We'll see that. Anyway, Sannie, thank you so much for joining us. But let's just do a post-mortem of the Ghana Central African Republic game.
Yes.
You were at the stadium.
Yeah.
How did you feel about it?
I thought that the Central African Republic lived up to the expectation, knowing that they beat Nigeria in Nigeria. I must tell you something. Nigeria, with all the stars they had, and they still have, for them to go all the way to Nigeria to win a game, should have thought us that it was a difficult game. And as it turned out, it was a difficult game. But it was important that we won the game. The fans came out in their numbers, even though it was a working day to support the team to win. I think that, yes, we've been robbed by a lot of injuries, but we also need to honestly admit that there are certain parts in the team that needs to be augmented for us to be title challengers. And if we do that, particularly in our attacking department and the left side of the defense, if we are able to get it right, I'm confident that we can get at least to the semi-finals of the African Cup of Nations.
There's a lot of promise about this Ghana team.
Yes.
How does this Ghana team compare to maybe the Ghana teams of the last 5 years or the last 10 years, if you are doing an assessment of this team and the team of 5 years ago or the team of 10 years ago?
You know, the team has gone through various transitions.
Yeah.
The transitions are the teams that did well at the World Cup in 2010, the team that reached almost every semi-final of the African Cup of Nations.
Yep.
And then there was a little blip. And every complex, system is bound to go through moments like this. But the speed of recovery is an effective measure of a good system. And our speed of recovery is impressive. Why do I say that? I say that the blip we had was maybe for about 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
So our speed of recovery is appreciable. Countries like, Nigeria, since the last time they won the African Cup of Nations, they've not found their feet. The same applies to Egypt. They are still dodgy and the rest. But our speed of recovery is commendable. But we should also not get complacent in saying that, we've got these young talents coming through and all of that. We have to work at it to be able to get to the top. So as compared to the teams of maybe 10 years ago, 5 years ago, you would see that a lot of those players were playing for top teams in Europe.
Right.
If you take Sule Muntari, Stephen Appiah, Michael Essien, all of those players were playing for top teams in Europe.
Yeah.
But the situation is not of the same in this current squad, but we'll get there. You can see that some of our players have now started, getting some of the big teams in Europe. It will come, and we have to work at it. The most important thing for us now is to identify the weak areas in the team and fix them as we go forward. And I also call for patience, because we are all too eager to shoot this, remove this person, sack this person, bring that person. And a lot of the times we forget that just like you and I, there are good times at your workplace, there are bad times. So when a player, a coach, an official has a bad day, we should sometimes be sympathetic that they are human beings. Exactly. They won't go out there saying they want to disgrace themselves on a global stage. They would want to put off their best or put up their best. But when things don't go well, let's also remember those good times they gave us. And I remember during the game against CR, you know, a few, you know, I saw supporters were eager. Change this person, change. You could see the hands flinching. Change this person. Boo here and there.
Right when the list came out, they had already been calling for change.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. So we have to be patient. First of all, I should have started this program by sending my condolences to the people of Morocco.
Okay.
I've closely watched how, you know, they've developed their football. Even though there are bits of what we see here, it's normal in football that supporters will get, you know, edgy and all of that. But what I know is that they've been very, very patient with their players to be able to get to the place they are. Let's also do the same.
Right.
I mean, definitely, Ibrahim, since we've made the qualification and we are moving forward from there, you mentioned some of the weaknesses being at the defense, the back. Any others you identified immediately just watching the game?
Well, I think that we need options at the left back. That is the truth. Baba Rahman has served us very, very well. In fact, he was in the line of duty when he got his first serious career injury. So we need to juxtapose the two. I'm very, very sympathetic of people like that. People who go out of their way and serve the country. And when they go through difficulties, we should not be quick to flay them. We should be people who remember things that people did for us in good times. Let's just not throw them away just like that. And that sympathy also goes to Andrea Yu. He doesn't have a club at the moment. His leadership role is very, very important to the team and all of that. The other day, I was listening to TalkSport in the UK, and I heard Rio Ferdinand made a similar point concerning Raheem Sterling. He's been dropped out of the English national team. He made a similar point. Just a couple of years ago, he was the one leading you to the final of the Euros.
Yes.
Then let's say, you know, just a patchy form, you forget about him. These things go to people. They are human beings, let's remember.
Yep.
So let's just be sympathetic, but also let's also be honest in admitting that this area is weak. Let's fix it. And last night I was listening to several debates. I like to listen, and people are saying we don't have options. We do.
Okay.
We do. I think that our coaches should be up and doing.
Yep.
There are lots of players who are central defenders that can also play in those positions. For example, Salisu.
Yeah.
Salisu can play as a left back.
Okay.
So if the coaches are smart enough to be able to see that, you know, just because Kawawa is known to be a center back doesn't always mean that
he has to play.
He always has to play in that position. Right. There are people that can be juggled. There's Patrick Pfeiffer, who plays in Germany, who can also play at the left back position. And there's one Dutch-born Ghanaian guy called Frimpong. He plays for Moreirense in Portugal.
Yeah.
He played for the Dutch U19 team several years ago. He's 24, I think. I mean, the coaches should be up and doing. There are lots of Ghanaian players we can choose from. If we choose from these things, we'll be able to solve the problem. With Inaki Williams, I'm still not convinced about, you know, his ability to cope with African football.
Struggling.
African football is really difficult.
Yep.
People will say, oh, the complaint I had, I was just sitting behind these guys, or Spain, or Baha, or Body. You know, do you think Inaki would want to come here and maybe...
Be a flop? No.
And be a flop? No. Maybe he needs time to settle within the system. Right. He needs time to understand the African football terrain that is tough. And maybe sometimes also to also study the environment and the players he's playing with.
But Ibrahim, do you think the problem is with his positioning?
No.
Okay.
I think it is his understanding of the African football terrain. African football terrain is tough. Look, somebody can be, you know, given the task of marking you out because they know you. They know Inaki Williams. They might not know Semenyo that much.
Right.
So the coach can plan his tactics for Inaki Williams. And when he is given the duty, he'll do an African is told, follow this man. Even when the person is going to drink water, he's following him.
Yeah.
So I think that we have to be sympathetic, but in also admitting that let's also try some other options. I think that the partnership between Nyama and Semenyo worked really well.
It did.
If we see that this has worked well, let's try it. We are playing Liberia on Tuesday. These are some of the things, and we have to be honest about it.
Most definitely.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. No, I think we can move on to the next topic of discussion. I mean, we're talking about how the Black Stars have made the qualification to AFCON.